Well, today's episode 97. We're closing in on 100, but today we're going to be talking about what Dester's been listening to lately. I just forgot.
America.
Oh yeah, Bob Dylan and America.
Right.
And then I'm going to be talking a little bit about Saul and his encounter with the Philistines in 1 Samuel 13 today. So episode 97.
Hey, Joshy.
I never know how to wind down an intro.
You did a great job.
That
That was
it
fun.
always is like truncates it off. Like I'm done talking.
So
Episode 97.
move on. It was fine. You do a great job. So we were talking before, like we always do, and it reminded me of Josh and I after class last night. We were out in the parking lot talking, and we heard this eruption. It was an eruption of one person. I honestly thought it was a person with autism having an episode because it sounded familiar. It was out of control. Couldn't really tell if it was a girl or boy, but it was higher pitched, so I thought it was a boy, a girl, or a small person. We look over.
It was a small person.
It was a small person. She's an adult, but she's a small, very cute small person. To Josh's right, to my left, we look over, and this girl is having, I don't know how to say it, a conniption. Her hands are going up and down.
Yeah,
She's jumped.
screaming her
feet
head
are
off.
up and down. She's and I look over. I make eye contact with her. She's in the whole conversation. I just picked up bits and pieces. You don't understand. You don't understand. I hate spiders. There was a spider in her car. She opened the door and there was a spider.
Yeah, and in her description of the spider, you'd have thought it was like,
Oh my gosh.
some 3-foot diameter spider with fangs of
Right. I was expecting a banana spider, a couple inches long, whatever.
Right.
You should have seen it, Chris. It was seriously, it wasn't even a couple of centimeters.
Yeah.
How big would you say it was?
Well, you said it was smaller than your fingernail.
Yeah. I looked at it and went, is that what you're talking about?
Well, the guy in the pickup truck next to her, who also noticed her screaming, came over, reached into the car, and just grabbed the web and the spider attached to it and let it outside. Go. And she was freaking out the whole time. She's like, if that would have happened while I was driving, I would have died, and I would have crashed and died.
Yep. It was a real episode. There was nothing put on about this. She was scared to death, man. I know her. From church, and she's a tough girl.
Yeah.
She goes to the gym. She's got 2 pit bulls. She said herself she owned a bat she had a possum for a pet, all these things. The spider was that big.
Yeah.
And it's terrible because we were making fun of her. We were laughing at her, but
not overtly,
no,
but
yeah. But
we just recognized the humor of the situation.
It was one of those things she was doing her shoulders up and down like she just can't stand it.
Yeah, like creepy crawly.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. It was an episode. There's no question about it.
I remember when I was a kid, because my mom's the same way with bugs and stuff, and I remember several times as a kid, it just being quiet in the house, and all of a sudden just an instant blood curdling scream because some bug showed its face or whatever. And I remember being in the car once with my mom as a kid, and I'm just minding my own business off my own world. All of a sudden, scream, and I sense my mom's presence right here. I guess there was a bee on her window or whatever, and she was trying to get away from it, which meant she gets into the passenger side seat and nobody's driving. Well, by this time the bee, it like gone around. And it was like on the center console, and I quickly realized that I had to make a decision: either take care of this bee by any means necessary or die. So
right,
barehanded, wham,
smashed it.
Smashed it.
That shit. Did you know that she had a phobia of bees or whatever it was before that?
Yes, but it was unexpected to happen at that because here again, like that wasn't on my schedule for the day.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
in my own world, minding
Right.
my own business, you know, driving down the road, quiet in the car, not talking.
Right.
And just all of a sudden, an emergency has presented itself.
How old were you?
I might have been like, this is after we moved to Chapel Hill, so probably like 13, maybe,
13.
something like that.
You were dreaming of calculations and
Right,
engineering
yeah.
things. What book you're going to read next?
Yep.
Plus, you're in a car. It's a different environment when you're in a car and something happens and you're out of control or whatever.
Yeah.
I had I don't remember what it was. I had a roach fly on my leg in a car one time. I heard something and I looked down and it was a daggone roach. I mean, I don't remember how long ago it was, but you park your car in a garage in a house. Let's be honest, almost every house has some type of
Right.
roaches or bugs or whatever. We don't have any unordinary amount of anything in our house. It just happened to get in I leave my windows down, or now I leave my top down, and whatever can get in the car. Every time I leave the house, I 100% eyeball Bobby, our cat, to make sure that she's in the house. I'm not driving down the road and she's sitting on the back window or something, So anyway, because she goes out I let her go out in the garage. She loves it out there. Anyway, so I've been listening to some music. I watched a Bob Dylan documentary, about 3/4 of it, this last week. And they were going through the chronology of his albums. And Bob Dylan has evolved. Man, he's been around since early 60s, mid 60s. So he was around, and he had already made it very popular in 70, 71, 72. So around the time that I like all that music, all my music that I really like comes from 69 to 74. Well, he was already top. People were looking at him and going, man, Grateful Dead was looking at Bob Dylan and going, man, this guy has got something going on, very special. And he was a prolific writer, like Van Morrison, just writes and writes and writes. But he was a very unique, and still is, he's still around, very unique person. And his uniqueness was obvious whenever he was recording with musicians, because back at that time, he wasn't with a band that traveled around together. He would get different musicians wherever he was. He would get different musicians who he thought were top musicians. They'd come together at a place, they record, and that's how they would do it.
Right.
Well, I listened to some of the interviews with some of the players, and they said, "Man, this guy." They were doing a documentary on Bob Dylan, so they didn't want to say, "Man, this guy's a jerk. He's really hard to record." But I think that's what they were saying. They disguised it by saying he's a genius, and this is how he likes to work in the studio. And you could just tell, though, that they've never worked like that before in the studio. It's a weird way of working. And it seemed to me like it was a genius, being Bob Dylan, trying to communicate with people, but being ineffective. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
a guy who's really, really good, just top notch of what he does, but really doesn't know how to deal with people that aren't on that level. These are totally my words. I've never heard anybody say this. It's just watching and reading and listening to a lot of things. What he would do is they'd go in the studio, and these are people that don't know each other, right? Because he's called them in, they know of each other. And at the time, whenever a guitarist or a drummer was called by Bob Dylan, "Hey, Bob Dylan wants to," they go, "Yeah," because like I said, he had already made it. So that's, even if they just played that one song, that is on their resume. I did this with Bob Dylan, so other people would want to communicate, want to work with that drummer. So these guys said that he would play parts of the song, not even the full song, play parts of the song, look at everybody and go, "Does everybody have it? Okay, let's move on." play parts of the song again, and he'd say, maybe he would go through, okay, whenever we get the bridge or go to verse 2, I want this to happen. I want the drums to do this. This is okay. Everybody got it? Good. Let's move on. They go through the songs one time, and then they'd record. I was like, what? Wait a minute, we don't even know what this song's supposed to sound like, you know? But that's the way he did it. And many times the guys said it seemed to work. Once we were able to write down, they said we were scrambling for paper whenever Bob's sitting in his chair in the studio, no paper, pencil, or whatever, and he starts talking, they're looking around going, we got any paper, got any pencil? Because so they can write down whatever it is. They had some time to digest it. Then they started recording it, and maybe it would take 2 takes, but it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be when they first started. Yeah. They've just never worked that way. And a lot of the music on this CD was done like that, and it's really good. It's really, again, it's part of his genius, you know, but I don't know. So I got this CD. It's called Blood on the Tracks. I got this one because it was recommended by that documentary that I saw. If you know anything about Bob Dylan, early 60s, he sounded one way. He sounded like he sounded one way. Could understand everything he said. To me, this album started him sounding like everybody thinks Bob Dylan sounds like now. That kind of thing.
Right.
You get that underlying on this. You can still understand him, but that's the type of album this is. And 2 or 3 albums prior to this one, critics didn't like it because it didn't sound like the regular Bob Dylan that they were accustomed to. It sounded different. So
that was an evolving sound.
It was an evolving sound.
Yeah.
And why? I asked myself why. Well, in 61, he wasn't that old. He was really young. So our voices evolve. It's not like he said, I want to change things. I want to sound differently. His voice evolved. Right. From a probably an old teenager to a 21 to a 30-year-old, man, your voice is going to change.
Also, because it was like the voice and the style.
Yeah.
And just, it's kind of like your signature. When you're first learning how to do your signature, it's very structured and all this stuff. But, by the time you're an adult, it takes on all kinds of different forms. And
right.
Your vocal signature is the same way. I remember, gosh, why the name just slipped me? A very famous singer, Satchmo. What was his name?
Satchmo.
Louis Armstrong?
Louis Armstrong, yeah.
Armstrong.
When he was young, like he has that very, very characteristic voice of like that. When he was young, I think he was just a tenor.
Gotcha.
And his voice, oddly enough, he wasn't as popular early on in his life as it was later on. I think he had a flu or a cold or something, and it messed up his voice and gave him that really gravelly sound. And people loved it.
Yeah.
So like when you listen to the early Louis Armstrong stuff, it's way different than the later Louis Armstrong stuff.
Right. The problem with that, the problem that Bob Dylan had with that is this. People liked the way he used to sound and his style. Like whenever he became so famous, and it wasn't just that he was famous in doing something, he started a whole genre of music. Bob Dylan did in the early 60s. That songwriter, acoustic guitar, harmonica playing, guitar playing, and writer. So
he's also very political in his lyrics too.
Yes, yeah, very much so. But people jumped on board with that. We love it. We love it. Love it. Well, he started changing things. Say he started changing his signature, and it's okay for those who are not. For us to change our signature, who cares?
Right.
But whenever you're Bob Dylan and people have jumped onto that signature, you start changing it. You're going, I don't like that. I like the original signature a lot better. So he got a lot of bad feedback about that. And Bob Dylan being Bob Dylan, you go, well, that's too bad for you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the music that I want to record. And, if you listen to it, cool. If you don't, that's all right too. Again, my words.
Right.
That was 3 or 4 albums before this one. This one came out, and everybody went, "That's the Bob Dylan we love." Even though your voice is a little different, it's back to the singer songwriter. We love it. This is awesome. And then history. The rest is history. So I listened to this for the first time this week. It just sounds like new music. Chris, I was never a big Bob Dylan fan growing up. I never was. So I'm discovering the new songs. You're not a big music fan, but you could even pick out Bob Dylan if you heard him on the radio. Anybody can pick out Bob Dylan on the radio just because of the way his voice sounds. And this is, to me, the gold standard. You can understand what he says, and he's got that Bob Dylan twang, I'll just call it, and his harmonica, strong guitar playing, strong verbal vocals. It's a really, really good. 1974. Mm-hmm. This was made. So anyway,
what's your favorite song on there?
I love "Tangled Up in Blue." That's the first song. "Tangled Up in Blue" is my favorite. And let's see, "Shelter from the Storm." Those are two love songs, or at least "Shelter from the Storm" is a love song. And he wrote a ton of love songs. He went through a bunch of heartbreaks, divorces and everything, kids being involved, and he was in a motorcycle accident. And there's still a mystique about Bob Dylan. And just the research that I did, I think I figured out why. Anytime something happened with him, he would go in isolation. And nobody would know what the heck he's doing. He was in a motorcycle accident. He went in isolation with his wife and daughter, and nobody knew how bad he was injured. But he stopped recording for I think 3 or 4 years. At one of the peaks, whenever he was getting famous, he was already real famous. He just went away for 3 or 4 years after a motorcycle accident. Mm-hmm. So everybody started rumoring. I don't even think today we know exactly what happened. And even whenever other stuff happened, he would just go away for a while.
Yeah.
And then he would just slowly come back. Like we would do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a regular person would do. Social media wasn't a big deal back then, so people weren't stalking him to find out where he was.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably easier to do back then than now, because there's no private section of anyone's life when they're famous these days.
He made it happen back then. Yeah, I agree with you. It would be easier to do, but he certainly made it happen. He just disappeared, and he strikes me as one of those guys that, like I've talked about before, he would play guitar and sing and play harmonica in his basement if nobody ever listened. Mm-hmm. But he did it, and it was famous. He knew it was famous. He was a trendsetter. Not the easiest person to get along with. Anytime you hear somebody in a documentary talking about Bob Dylan, they'll say something like, "Well, I would never claim to know Bob Dylan. I don't really know who he is. I'm acquaintance of him."
Right.
But you never really yeah, we hung out together, man. It was awesome. He's a great guy. You don't hear that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of reading between the lines a little bit. But anyway, that's any question about Bob Dylan?
Nope, but I do have questions when you're done with your next one.
Okay. A couple episodes ago, we started talking about album art and why I liked buying hard, tactical music.
Right.
And a lot of things, a lot of times it's because of the data that you get in the art. Now, I would prefer to get the album and get all the stuff, but in some of the CDs, you still get all of the words, the album art, and in this America, the Greatest History, that's the case. With albums, sometimes today, the resale value is because of the album art. Mm-hmm. It's art, like you showed us in your book.
Yeah,
the engineering book where they would draw rope, and in the rope you could see the little strands. It was art, man. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. So this is one of them. Now, this isn't necessarily beautiful art. But here's the kicker. I like looking at the little information about it. And I remember back in the day, I learned this, but I forgot it. Cover design, Phil Hartman. You know who Phil Hartman is?
Yes, he's the actor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Phil Hartman. He committed suicide. Unfortunately, he was in
Right.
news radio. He was on Saturday Night Live. That's who did this. That's who did this cover art.
Really? That's interesting.
Yep, sure did. Did that art. Did all the art inside. The
And it
art
was
in
the same
back.
Phil Hartman, not just a different guy.
No,
with the
same
name.
Phil Hartman. Yep, same guy.
I
Same
didn't realize he
guy.
was an artist.
I didn't either. But that's what he did before he was a famous actor. And if you think about it, the actors many of the actors that we love these days, multi-talented. Justin Timberlake. Have y'all ever heard him sing? Have you ever heard him play guitar?
Yep.
My gosh, he's good.
Yep.
He's really, really good. And what's the lady? Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. But there's many actors that we know that can sing really well.
Right.
Really good singers.
Oh yeah, like Anne Hathaway.
That's exactly the woman I was thinking about.
Okay.
Anne
I was
Hathaway.
gonna say her, Scarlett Johansson.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I first, what's that movie she was in? What is it? What's it?
She was in a bunch of movies.
The
Princess Diaries.
no. It was.
I have never seen
It was
that
a
movie.
play. Also, it was also a play.
Oh.
and I cannot believe I can't
I don't know.
remember. But she played a. She started singing in that, and it was opera. My gosh.
Oh. I know what you're talking
Yes.
about. Les Miserables.
Yes.
Yeah.
Les Miserables. Yeah, you've heard of that.
Yeah. Which I think means the miserables.
The Miserables. That's right. The Miserables. I watched that with my in-laws and Donna. She started singing, and I think my face went, "Is that really her?" Man, she sang like a bird. Oh my gosh, it was unbelievable.
Yep. I'll tell you what's so along those same lines. There's a really kind of dumb movie. It's a computer animated movie called Sing. It's a
Okay.
kids movie, which is why I ended up watching it with my daughter. But the premise is these characters are coming together and making like an American Idol type production.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But the actors who voice these characters are people. I can't remember if Anne Hathaway was one of them, but I don't remember Scarlett Johansson was one of them, and several actors, and they're all singing in this thing, and like you wouldn't expect it, but they have really, really good voices.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just that when I realize that, I start thinking about the overall talent, that it takes to do something. To be an actor these days, many times these actors have gone through so much work to get to where they are. And some of them, like Phil Hartman, he was an artist, you know what I mean? And then ended up being an actor. How that happened, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway, I don't know if did she start out a singer or singer-dancer? I don't know. But then they hit a niche and it sticks,
Yeah. There's this clip on YouTube from the Kelly Clarkson show where Anne Hathaway goes toe to toe with Kelly Clarkson.
Singing.
Yeah, singing. Yeah.
If you want to, you can do that. You're doing pretty good.
Right.
You know what I mean? I love watching. Certainly is it Jimmy Kimmel? What's the other?
Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. Whenever Justin Timberlake goes on there and they do duets. Have you ever
Right.
seen him do the Bee Gees?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
One of the most famous Saturday night sketches of all time. Yeah.
So funny, man. Good.
Have you ever seen Bring It On Down to Omeleteville?
I have not.
You need to look at that on Saturday Night Live. It's
Bring it on
hilarious.
down to Omeleteville. Okay. That's a nice title. I love it. All right. Anyway, so that's what I've been listening to. I do want to bring attention to a lady named Donna Godshaw also. She used to sing, her and her husband were with the Grateful Dead for several years, and she passed away this last week. Donna Godshaw. Anytime you hear a Grateful Dead song and there's a female voice, that's her. I don't think they ever had a female that sang with them. She sang like an angel. She was I think 80 something. So I don't know what she died of except for natural causes, but she did pass away. So I want to dedicate this episode to her, Donna Godshaw.
So earlier this week, in our different text conversations, everything, I sent two video links. One of them was from an Italian artist, Adriano Celentano.
I have not watched that one. I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen it yet.
We'll talk about
Did you
we'll talk
see
about
it?
it next week.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I saw that you sent it, and I don't know if I was having an episode or not, but I haven't gone back and looked at it.
I'll tell you the premise of the song. So Italian artist, sings in Italian, all this stuff, but he made this one song that was entirely gibberish, not a single word in it, just all gibberish. But it was meant to like mimic the vocal style of like American pop artists at the time.
All right.
And so you're listening to it and you're like, this is kind of a neat song. It actually got kind of popular here in the States for a while.
Okay.
But not a single word in it.
That's funny.
It's just all mishmash of English sounding syllables. And I think the title of it is Prisicolinisol or something like that.
I think my problem with the thing was I'm
genius.
sitting there trying to. When he said gibberish, I thought he meant like just different words. Like I'd do that to my wife. It's crazy stuff. But I'm sitting there going, what word is he saying? He's not even saying words. He's
But it
just
was close
saying
enough to make you think it was a word.
I'm sitting there
maybe.
trying to listen to this. I'm like, I spent this much time and I didn't understand. Wait a minute.
You're not
This
supposed
is
to.
absolute total gibberish.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to get your
genius.
thoughts on that.
I'll make sure to watch it.
But then the other one, did you watch the other link I sent you?
I don't remember what.
So we talked about AI.
Yes.
Either last
Right,
week or the week before it.
Right.
And some of the disadvantages and advantages of it and all that kind of stuff. And one of the links I sent you was Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby,
Yes.
but redone as a soul.
Yes.
In the style of soul.
That was good.
And
Yes,
I
saw
remember listening, and this is like, this seems to be like its own genre that's growing now, where the AI is used to take an existing song and redo it entirely in a different style of music, kind of like what Postmodern Jukebox does, except it's real people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's kind of not too crazy about it, but every now and then you get a good one like that Ice Baby that done in soul. I've listened to it several times since it happened to pop up on my YouTube. That's pretty cool.
So it's just entertaining in itself.
Yeah.
The genre is entertaining. Okay,
Right.
cool.
And but along those same lines, there's a whole channel. It's a Bible channel where it's like Isaiah done as a song in the style of blues, or Psalms done or something like that. And
like it.
they're pretty cool. Like, especially
it.
if you're already familiar with the content and you're listening to that song, it's like, okay, I can see how they're stringing these ideas together.
Wow, nice.
It's kind of neat.
I like that. I was fooled by AI this week. It's the first time that I was aware, but first I wasn't aware. I thought it was real. I sent Don a video of a baby and a dog sitting on the kitchen floor in flour. And the mother has her phone out from her perspective, and the mother goes, "Who's responsible for this?" She was trying to act like she was mad, but it was just so cute that she couldn't help it. The baby's sitting there with a diaper, and the dog sitting right next to the baby, and they're both looking at her. And the dog sneezes, and flour goes just out of his nose, and the baby goes, and it was just the cutest thing in the world. And I sent it to Donna, and then maybe later that day, I saw another one with a different dog and a different baby doing the same thing. I went, man, they got me. They got me.
Actually,
It was
the one
AI.
I saw one actually this morning when I was up. There's the baby on the floor, the mom standing behind the table, and the dog all of a sudden grabs the baby, like, he's going to attack it, and he actually pulls it under the table for an earthquake.
Yeah, I've seen those too.
Yeah.
I've seen those too.
It's gotten to the point where I really think there's a danger there, because it's going to get to the point where we can't trust anything either photo or video.
Like we talked about last week, I already don't trust it. This week was the first time that it actually 100% got me.
Yep.
100%. I thought for sure that I could tell the difference.
Well,
you know?
it's getting more difficult to tell too. And usually there's like signs in the background. If there's text, it always messes that up. Or look at people's hands and they're always weird and janky looking, or their feet, or just how the bodies move with respect to each other. There's always that kind of stuff. But I think, kind of two things, like the feedback loop. Like one, AI is just getting better at generating that and managing those small details anyway. But the more we call it out, it's like we're training the models. Like, oh, this is what they're paying attention to figure out what's AI.
Yeah. Right. One positive thing about AI, we'll talk, and I'll shut up. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, I don't remember. But one thing I think is worth bringing up is that so Donna, my wife's mother, my mother-in-law is 100% blind, and Donna takes care of her. And she was taking her to the doctor the other day, and they were talking, and her mother was talking about a song that she hasn't heard since she was a child. And Donna asked her some questions that Donna used the answers to put in a prompt for AI, and within 5 minutes, her mother was able to listen to that song again.
Okay.
And she hasn't heard it since she was a child.
Interesting.
Donna played it through the stereo, and her mom went, "That's it, that's it, that's it." That just warmed Donna's heart. To think about that as a child in Japan.
Yeah.
And she asked, Donna asked her a couple simple questions. She put it in the AI, and it brought out, I'm calling that AI. Would you call that AI? I think it was.
Yeah.
I think what
if
it
you're
was.
Putting the questions into ChatGPT.
I think she put it in ChatGPT, and then she found that song. Man, that's great. That's wonderful. It's not like it's a song over here from the top 40. It was, in Japan in the 40s probably. Anyway, so that was a positive.
Well, you and I, we were talking about Chelsea and Tony Northrup. I just saw earlier, I think it was Monday. Apparently they've released a full AI camera now. I mean, it's not like a partial. Tony was on. I didn't get to watch the video because stuff was going on, but it was like, this is a totally AI-driven camera that he is now doing a review on, and I want to see what it does, but
to watch that
that's kind of scary. I can tell, well, that's a picture of a dog, and I don't want it to be a dog. I want it to be a whale, or what? And if that's the case, that's kind of scary because have we gone too far?
Yeah, no. Where are we going to land?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Where are we going to land on it? Yesterday, I did a photo shoot with Jeffrey Marshall and his family. And what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful family. 2 girls, one little girl, one little bigger girl. I don't know, little 9 years old and maybe 5, something like that. The little girl was done, about 45 minutes in it. I don't want to be. Everybody else was old enough to fake a smile.
Right.
It was so funny. They were talking her into coming over. Come on, honey, let's just get one more. And she would come over and she would stand there, but she was not going to smile. I'm here, but I'm not going to smile. So I'm looking through. I'm bursting shots. I'm assuming everybody else is smiling and they're doing a good job. I'm looking at her and she was not going to.
That's where you have to come up with those key words, like pickle pancake.
Well, I tried. She just wasn't going to have it. She wasn't going to have it. So I thought, okay, AI worked for me. So I took enough shots of her that day where she was smiling.
Right.
So I'm hoping that I can somehow merge a one where she's smiling right into where she's standing, because it was the whole family. That was the whole thing. We should have done that to begin with, I learned. But it was the whole family that we stopped at the end when she was tired. We hadn't done one with the whole family yet.
Right.
So I hope I can and make it look right. You know, you can do it and it looks janky. I don't want to do that. I want to make it look right. We'll see. I might get your help with that to see if I can get her in there.
Okay.
I'd like to be able to go, okay, Lightroom, make so-and-so smile, and then it just goes like this. I'd like to be able to do that if that's...
It's not possible there yet, but there was a software that, again, Chelsea and Tony's channel we're talking about, and it's like $300 one-time purchase thing, but it can go in and go, well, they're not smiling. Eek. And I couldn't tell. You know, I'm sitting there going, okay, I can't tell.
That would be that. Think about that. If you're a photographer, a pro, because it wasn't an inexpensive venture for Jeffrey to do this. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure that he gets what he wants. And if you pay $300 for that one-time thing, and you're able to save several photos, it's worth it. Yeah. You know. So anyway, we'll have to see. I haven't done much AI, except for last week. I did some stuff on my phone for the church. And man, I went in there. There was something in the background that I didn't want. I just pushed a button. I put my finger over whatever it was, shink. And I pushed another button, and it disappeared. It just disappeared. Yeah. And I thought, this is awesome. So I started going back to the other little things in the background, and I ended up having a flat, just an empty, good-looking background instead of having like a fire extinguisher here or whatever here. Everything else was a good black or blue background. Mm-hmm. I'm all for that stuff, man. I am. But then you go too far and you start putting people in the pictures that weren't there. Somebody's not supposed to be there, you know what I mean? And you start getting in trouble by...
Well, I remember a couple of years ago, we were doing a photo class, and I went outside and took a picture of the bush. And I went back to the house. And then I put guppies in the picture, and it looked like an aquarium. Or when we took AJ, I put AJ into the Enterprise.
Yeah, that was, as far as AI goes, that was centuries ago.
Yeah, centuries ago. Now what can I do with it?
Right, yeah, that's true. Anyway, all right, enough of that. This is not AI. Phil Hartman drew this with a pen and paper, you know what I mean? Which is, it's really, really good.
I actually had a young lady the other night. Because I've generated some AI imagery to express, like this is something you're looking at kind of thing. And she was very opposed to it. She says, you're taking away from the artist. I says, there's two sides to this. I don't have $500 or $600 to ask you to give me like a concept art drawing of something. AI can generate it, and it takes away from the artist, but it also, with AI imagery, there is no copyright.
Yeah. And
that's one of the advantages of no copyright. I can't claim a copyright on it, but neither can he, so I can use it. And so there's pluses and negatives to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we got to just have to figure it out.
And we haven't landed on it yet, and I think we will. I don't know.
Problem is that it's advancing faster than we're able to figure out our role in the whole thing.
Right.
Because it's only been probably 2 or 3 years
since it's been publicly available.
Yeah, since it's gone from strictly put in a text prompt and get a text answer back.
Yeah.
And without the ability to search the internet or do like that, to now put in a prompt, you can generate videos, songs, vocals, instruments.
Yep.
You can write doctoral theses. In 30 minutes.
Yep.
All this kind of stuff where it's fully referenced and researched and everything.
Would you like for me to do this? That's the thing that's got me. Whenever you started, it used to be you asking a question. Now it's prompting you. If you'd like for me to, I can do this. Like, whoa, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Right. It's no longer us prompting AI, but it's AI prompting us to prompt AI for the next
crazy,
thing.
Man.
Well, y'all know that I'm dyslexic, so when y'all get texts from me, letters are messed up. Things are misspelled.
I have put your text in ChatGPT before.
Tell me what Chris is trying to tell me.
Tell it to translate and respond. Because, like, I have no clue what you're saying.
We're sorry. We have no idea what Chris is trying to tell you. Maybe he has been drinking.
It hasn't been a lot, but there's been like 2 or 3 times in the past several years where I was like, what in the world is happening right now?
I was sending you a code from the mothership, Josh. You should understand. You've forgotten to speak your language.
AI, can you do anything with this?
AI comes back and goes, nope.
I had to replace my computer after one of them. AI thought for a little bit. The computer started smoking.
We have no clue.
It just came back. You need new friends. Would you like me to suggest some new friends?
That's right. I know some other engineers that may be.
I would be offended, but nah, I don't care.
Your feelings would be hurt if you had feelings.
If I had feelings.
Anyway, we had a good class last night too. We'll transition over to you. We had 12 people in there and talked about.
Well, we finished a series we've been doing for about 11 weeks.
That was good, Josh. That was really good, man.
And because I'm always curious about the, like not just the why of things, but how it got to that point. And so we've done a series before in our small group about our church's statement of faith, where we kind of go into each bullet point, where we get that from Scripture, all that stuff. But I did it a little bit differently this time. I did it more from a historical perspective because, statements of faith can vary across not just individual churches, but denominations and people groups and cultures and all that kind of stuff. So how did we get from the first century apostles writing the New Testament and using the Hebrew Old Testament to now in the 21st century, our website having a list of bullet points, picking out certain parts of the Bible to establish as its dogma and doctrine. And so we trace that lineage going from the first century to now about how the early church developed, different schisms and disagreements and things like that led to, a church in Pensacola being associated with the name Independent Baptists or Fundamental Baptists and creating a statement of faith based on those agreed upon ideals from Scripture. And so it was a very long series. Like I said, it's about 3 months we've been doing this, 11 weeks.
When you're only doing a half hour a week, though, it can.
Yeah, and even still, that's highly compressed. Like last night, I even told you at the end, my 30 minutes, I'm exhausted.
I know.
Because it was a lot of information all at once, because it's kind of like bringing everything together into one thing. But I don't know. I have fun doing them. I have fun researching
Everybody loved it. It was
and then presenting that. But
there's one guy in class, bless his heart, he always asks a question. Josh's answer is always, that's in the next slide. That's 2 slides from now. Hold up. That's in the next slide.
I was talking to him after class too. He's like, I'm sorry for doing that. I'm like, no. That's awesome.
He's on target, man.
Because it does 2 things. One, it shows me you're engaged in it, but it's telling me that the way I plan this out, it's a logical progression of thought. That's not just the way I think about it. It's the way other people think about it too.
Yep.
So it always excites me when people ask a question that's on the next slide.
Right. Yeah. He does. So it is uncanny how many times that happens.
Right.
It's really nice. It's good. It's good. I'm always glad he's there.
Yep.
I remember it was a couple of weeks ago. Remember you did the thing about Paul going to Spain, and I asked you, was Spain the actual name?
Right.
Of Spain? And actually, if you go back, I went ahead and dug into it, and if you go back
was doing
to
the same.
The Roman Hispania, was the correct term.
Yep.
Even though it became other things after, and it went back to Spain now. Hispania was basically the Roman Latin name for that region.
Okay.
Right. And not only that, but the name Spain shows up twice in the New Testament, both in Romans 15 when Paul's talking about it, and the Greek word behind it was also Spania, sigma pi alpha, whatever the V, a new, and then So, but it basically means like it's a Greek word that like at its root means scarceness. But yeah, it was a Roman name, España. But even in the Greeks, the Greek language, it had that equivalent is España as well. But yeah, I remember you talking about that, and I never I remember looking into it. I was going to text you, and something happened. I never texted you, and then I thought about it again. Something happened. I never texted you. So I'm glad you looked into it as well.
You see how important I am? Like the redheaded stepchild behind the camera.
No, but it's a good question, one that I didn't think of at the time. I was like, why was it called Spain in the first century? But yeah.
So, it was a good class last night. Good amount of people, and I almost envisioned you coming over the finish line, putting your chest out, going, "We're done," and your hands went up. Right. Any questions? Okay, we'll see y'all next week. It was a lot. I'll say this: I look around whenever Josh teaches. Everybody's so engaged. Everybody is, and we talked about after class. Why is my part more of a group discussion to the point last night, Chris, where I said a couple things. Everybody else had input. If you knew this, and before you know it, it's time for Josh to come up. Josh comes up, and everybody's just like, nobody's saying anything.
Well, I think it's because I'm the nerdy one who's like researching stuff nobody else is looking.
Nobody else has heard of before. And
so like, I got nothing.
Right. I guess the stuff that I'm talking about, people have been involved with and have experience with, and are sharing other things to the classrooms. This last night, for example, anybody can relate to taking out a 1.5 inch screw in their door jamb. What was it called? The hinge.
And putting in a 4-inch screw.
And then putting in a 4-inch screw. Anybody can relate to that. So everybody had an idea about what screw to use. Right. You know what I mean? It was a 15-minute conversation about screws.
Because you had started a new series about like how to make your home safer and like less prone to be broken into, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And one of them was just as simple as replacing the screws in your doors to something that goes in deeper.
Right.
Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, I do that to mine, and make sure you get this type of screw." And I remember, the place I used to live, we had a door with a screw.
He's not exaggerating, man. He's not exaggerating. Those are
like everybody's talking over each other because everybody has their own thing, and I remember the history of screws. And
yeah, but see, did any of y'all bring up the fact we live in Florida? We have access to all kinds of swamp water. So having a moat with alligators is an actual reality.
I bet if I brought that up, people start talking about alligators and their interaction with alligators. Which it's like two different classes. It really is. That half-hour class is a total just free for all almost. Where sometimes I feel like I am out of control. Going, okay,
poor Destry. I look at him and he's standing up at the front of the classroom. He's like,
"What happened?" We got 3 different conversations going on.
Somehow I have lost control of this. How do I get it back?
Yeah. And then Josh comes up and everybody is engaged. It's okay. But both have value, I think, right? Both have value. And so it's good. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mind. There are times where I'd like to get through my, ideas, which I never do.
Sometimes you get frustrated and after class you're like,
"Man,
Josh, can't do it anymore.
I know.
I got to talk you off the ledge."
It's true. That's true. Just leave it there. I'll leave it there. It's good though. It's good. It's better than people not being interested,
right?
I guess. I'm going to use that book. Bug In. It's called Bug In. Josh got from
I've read it before.
You've read it before?
Oh, yeah. A long time ago.
So what do you need to do to your house to make it impenetrable as much as possible? And what kind of things do you need? Not bugging out, you're bugging in.
Yeah.
Martial law has happened. Military has taken over, and you're looking at your neighbors going, friend or foe, I'm not sure.
Well, even if it's not that type of scenario, like we deal with this in Panhandle, Florida, quite often. Whenever there's a hurricane coming,
Yeah, right.
You're, like it's even said, like, was it the first 48 or first 72? You're on your own.
First 72.
Yeah, first 72 hours you're on your own. Like everybody is expected to be prepared for the first 72 hours after a hurricane hits. For there not to be any power, no one coming to rescue you. You don't have, no stores are open to get food, nothing like that. So like 72 hours, you have to be prepared to be on your own. And this kind of book is guidance on how to accomplish that type of thing. And not just for 72 hours, but, for longer if it needs to be.
Right.
For a wide array of emergencies.
But that gets you started. Just get in the mindset. For 72 hours, what do I need? Well, I need more than one box of Captain Crunch. Maybe I need 4. And how do you keep that fresh? How do you keep it from going bad?
Yeah.
How do
I
you
won't
keep
have
your
power
water?
for 70. I mean, that was Hurricane Ivan. We didn't have power for some
3
people
weeks.
didn't have power for weeks. Yeah.
I'm almost 4.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think we went 3.5 weeks without power.
It's a different life, man.
Yeah.
It's a different life. It really is.
Yep. I mean, great power bill that month.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
46 cents.
But I would have rather had air conditioning.
Right. Yep. Well, my hope is that it gets people starting to think that way. Not necessarily going full force, just like in any of the topics that we come up with. Just start thinking in a way that is in a preparation manner.
Right.
Prepare. Having a box of 50 9mm. Listen, that's not enough. That's not enough. You watch one shooting on a cop show. Shooting 7-8 times is nothing.
Right.
It's nothing. You're going to go through that 50 in a hurry. Plus, you need to have what ammo are you going to have and where are you going to store it? Just in case there's a fire or something. All that stuff you'd really need to think about. I read the other night about bacon grease. Bacon grease is like the next best thing to the gold. It can be used for lubrication. It can be used for preservation. It can be used for a lot of things.
Yep.
It can lubricate your
Midnight snack.
A midnight snack. Put it on a donut. I mean, come on. This particular book says don't ever throw away bacon grease. It can be used for so many things.
Yep.
JDL and I have about 4. I don't know. Maybe we have 5 half-gallon mason jars of bacon grease.
Is that right?
Every time she cooks bacon, it gets poured off into one of these things, and we fill it up, and we seal them up, and we put them in the bag. It doesn't go bad.
Okay, so I love that, Chris. So here's the way my mindset in the last couple of years has changed, and I hope that our students will start thinking this way too. You know what I think about whenever I think about that? Bargaining power. You have 6 things of bacon grease, have 10 of them, and trade it for whatever. Right? During martial law, during whatever. You have this, it's not ever going to go bad.
Right. Well,
this
during
water.
emergencies like that, it's a well-known fact that money doesn't really hold any value, especially paper money.
Yeah.
But goods do. That's how civilization has survived for millennia is in the barter system.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, I know that the perspective here is different, but one of the things is I've been prepping for years, and one of the things about human vices.
Oh, like cigarettes and things.
Cigarettes. Think about it. You can vacuum seal that. Most of your alcohols are not going to go bad. Okay? And people are going to have their vices, and so they'll be willing to trade you whatever for that cigarette or that little, pint of vodka or whatever.
Right.
And that's a bargaining power that a lot of people don't consider. Well, because I don't have the vice, therefore I don't.
Right.
But you have to think if somebody thinks you have something, you may be attacked for it.
Yeah, right.
and there's all types of crazy stuff out there. I mean, I've probably got enough guns and ammo. I could actually supply a platoon.
Yeah, I know you could.
So
I think it's interesting he says that on a podcast.
I can edit it out.
You can.
Here's
Maybe
a list
should.
of things I have in my house for anyone who's interested in
through them, if
emergency
you
who
will.
happens across this video.
Well, in that
I have
vein,
bacon grease.
in that vein, I think of a 22 caliber and how that's easily maneuvered around. Easily put in the backpack and gone. 9mm too, probably, but I think 22 would probably be better, wouldn't it? You can get more in a smaller container, 100 and 150 in a smaller container. Trade 22 is not, man. That's a caliber to me that is overlooked a lot of times.
Oh, absolutely.
Highly overlooked. Actually, I could put 10,000 rounds of 22 in the space that I put like about 700 rounds of 9mm.
That's crazy.
And that's the case. It's like, and in the right hands,
It can
a 22 is just as deadly as a 50 cal.
right. Yep.
Plain and simple.
How many times do you hear on these cop shows it was a 22 caliber? It was a lot of times it's a 22 caliber.
And it's still a popular concealed carry pistol.
It should
22.
be. It absolutely should be. We've had people in our class say, we've had that discussion. Is it a valid? Yes, it's valid. You know how to use it? Absolutely.
Right.
Especially if somebody who may not be as experienced to be able to hold a firearm and mitigate the recoil. 22, hey, perfect.
Right.
When we were teaching the airsoft, one of our students, she had a 22. Well, the airsoft guns have about the same amount of recoil as the 22,
Right.
so
Yep.
she was practicing with that, and I'm like,
That's beautiful.
she was on par with it, and so
Great. No problem.
22 is a great round to have. It's shorter range, but if you know how to play shots, you're going to put your target down.
It's dirty. You have to
Yeah.
plan on cleaning everything. It's a dirty round, it seems, so it's going to gum up really easily, probably than a 9mm maybe.
Not really. Depends on the ammo. I mean, some of that. I had bought my wife a 38, and we got this Winchester ammo. And I can clean a gun in a matter of moments. I spent 3.5 hours cleaning that gun. I said words that I don't think I've ever said about cleaning that gun. And I kept dumping stuff to it, and that it was the bad ammo. So if you get a good quality ammo,
Okay.
it's generally not going to be as dirty.
That's a
And
good
it's a
lesson.
good it's a good hunting ground for small game too. Like
is
if
that
you're
right?
in the
Okay.
position where you're out of food and you have to go find something, you can take out small game with it.
Right.
Well, even a large game. Okay.
Yeah, depending on where you place
in
the shot.
Florida, in Florida, your average shot on a deer is probably 25 to 30 yards. You pop in between the eyes with the 22, it's going to drop.
Right. Gotcha.
And so, there you've killed a deer with something, and there's very little report. So you're not shooting something of a high caliber, making a huge boom that somebody half a mile away is going to hear.
Yeah, right. It's more like a crack, isn't it? It sounds more like a.
It's just a small pop, and you might hear it from maybe at 100 yards or something, but you're not going to hear it from a long ways away.
Who was it? You that had that? It was a suppressed 22, or was it the other Chris?
It's the other Chris.
It was the other Chris had a suppressed 22, and you could hear the action.
Actually, that was mine.
Was that you?
I have the
Okay.
one I have a blue 22. It's actually not suppressed, it has a muzzle brake, but it has a 26-inch barrel.
Okay,
And I used the subsonic ammo,
that's what it was.
and all you hear is the bolt coming back,
You could hear the action.
and then you hear the little shell go ting off against whatever you're shooting. And it's like, and somebody says, "You got that suppressed?" No, it's no suppression on it.
It's a
just,
subsonic.
I used the subsonic ammo.
That was a fun rifle to shoot.
Oh yeah, that's and it's like, and the thing is that rifle is so hyper accurate. I can keep at 50, 60 yards. I keep everything inside of a dime.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's the one where you can put your thumb in the.
it's my I call it my little blue beast.
Okay, it's a beautiful gun. It is.
Yep.
Blue grain.
Blue,
right?
blue grain in the wood.
Nice.
Blue, all the little fixtures or attachments have been done in blue.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that gun, I love that thing. That'd be the last gun I would ever get rid
Is that
of
right?
there.
That's
Yeah.
the one. Well, okay, good.
He went totally up the direction.
And
what we do.
segue.
Take it over.
This podcast really just needs to be called Three Old Dudes Talking.
Three guys talking about guns and AI and whatever else. Whenever you
He
start
called me old.
Three dudes talking.
There you go. There you go. Well, my attempted transition was that we had a good gun club last night
Right.
with the Bible study, finishing up. We Sunday I didn't go into the service at all, but I understand it was a pretty good one about.
On Sundays they started a new series as well, and because we're just coming off of the usually in October we do a series on giving and that kind of stuff. So we just started. I say we, pastor started a new series this past Monday, and there is an interesting verse in a series of verses in there that I kind of wanted to dig into a little bit. Not that it really has anything to do with the part that I'm going to get into. Not that it has anything to do with what he was talking about, but just an interesting historical development in Scripture that we can see evidence of elsewhere. And it comes from 1 Samuel 13. So the focus of the sermon was matters of the heart, and he used 1 Samuel 13 and this account of King Saul, showing the hardness of his heart, what the condition of his heart was at this time, and how it led ultimately to him losing the throne, or the throne being God taking basically Saul ruining his own legacy. And so 1 Samuel 13 is an account of Israel encountering the Philistines. And I want to talk about the Philistines a little bit because it's a really interesting people group that ends up being one of the main enemies of Israel throughout all of their history, and even after the nation, the northern southern kingdom, even after they get conquered, the Philistines. We'll get into it. So 1 Samuel 13 is one of these encounters where Saul and a bunch of people from Israel are gathering together, and they're about to do battle against the Philistines. And during this time, Samuel, who is the last judge of Israel prior to Saul's reign, Samuel is still alive and is acting as an advisor to Saul. And so there's an agreement. Saul, go ahead and get everyone together. Go camp near where this skirmish is going to be, and wait for me. I'm going to be there in 7 days. I'll come there, offer sacrifice. We'll engage in battle.
Okay.
And
y'all get your 22s ready.
Right, you get your 22s ready.
Get
Yep.
that high quality ammo.
Right.
ready to go.
Get your bacon grease.
That's right.
Lube up the rifles with it. Oddly enough, so it's an interesting little rabbit trail there because
I thought we were on task a little bit too long there, so I wanted to derail us.
well, this chapter talks about Israel's weapons.
Okay.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because it says that this is in verse 19.
I was hoping it was verse 22, but that's okay.
Well, it's going to go to 22. Verse 19. There was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his shear, his coulter, his axe, his mattock. Yet they had a file for the mattocks and for the coulters and the forks and axes to sharpen the goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people that were with Saul and Jonathan, but with Saul and with Jonathan his son that was there found. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the passage of Michmash. So anyway, it says Israel didn't have any blacksmiths. They didn't have any smiths. So Israel didn't have this huge supply of this huge production of weaponry like the Philistines has. They always went to the Philistines to sharpen what swords and spears that they did have, which were very few. In fact, here it says it was only with Saul and Jonathan that there was found a sword and a spear.
Okay.
So I think that's interesting, the strategy, because the Philistines specifically said, we don't want those people making swords and spears, so we're not going to let them have any blacksmiths. Mm-hmm. They're all going to have to come to us. So now what do you do when you're fighting the people who make your weapons?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, so that's one of the dynamics of this battle this fight that they're about to engage in is they're fighting with the people who have all the weapons. And so Saul and Samuel have this discussion. Samuel says, well, go down, camp, get all the people together. I'll be there in 7 days. I'll offer a sacrifice, and that will be kind of like invoking God's help as we go into this battle. And that's critical because Samuel was the guy that had to do that, because sacrifices are something that's in Levite wheelhouse. The Levites are the ones that do the sacrifices. They're the priests, and Samuel was a Levite. Now he actually descended from the same family that had the earth come up and swallow people. He was a direct descendant of the survivors of that way back in Numbers. But and in his family, when David was planning for the construction of the temple after they moved away from a temporary tabernacle structure to the temple, David reassigned the component of Levi that Saul was included in to be not the people that were responsible for transporting the different parts of the tabernacle, but now that it was a permanent structure, they became singers, and that was the group that Samuel was part of. Anyway, before all that, during the reign of Saul, he tells them, camp, wait 7 days, I'll come, I'll offer the sacrifice. So here in verse 5, the Philistines gathered themselves together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and people as the sand which is on the seashore in multitude. And they came up and pitched in Michmash, eastward from Bethaven. When the men of Israel saw that they were in a strait, for the people were distressed, then the people did hide themselves in caves and thickets and rocks and high places and pits. And some of the Hebrews went over Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was yet in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. And he tarried 7 days according to the set time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. In other words, Samuel was running late. He wasn't there in 7 days. So, verse 9, Saul said, bring hither a burnt offering to me and peace offerings, and he offered the burnt offering. That's not what you're supposed to do, because Saul's from the tribe of Benjamin. Benjamite people, they're not the ones that offer the sacrifices. If this is going to be a sacrifice done the proper way, the proper person has to do the proper sacrifice. So he was told by Samuel, wait until I get there. Samuel was running late. Samuel didn't say, if I'm running late, you go ahead and do it, because it's not how it goes. Well, verse 10, it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him that he might salute him. So, Saul was running a little bit late, but he still came. It was after 7 days, and he came right as Saul was ending the sacrifice.
Oh, boy.
Kind of caught in the act. And I think this conversation, yes, it's bad, but it's a little bit funny. Samuel said, what have you done? And Saul said, because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. Therefore, said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. So he's like, I didn't want to, but I forced myself.
Forced myself.
Right? And it's only because, people people were starting to leave, and which is funny because verse 7 it says Saul was in Gilgal and all the people followed him trembling. What did he tell Samuel? He's like, everyone was leaving. That's not true. They were there. They were just all scared. And so Saul has a habit of doing this because of like jumping the gun. Because we'll find that as time goes on, that pattern sort of repeats itself and ultimately leads to Saul not continuing his legacy as king, his family, all that stuff. But it's interesting what Samuel's response is, and this is an indication, which is why it was used in the sermon the other day about matters of the heart. It shows the condition of Saul's heart. He wasn't putting his faith in God. It says, Samuel said to Saul, "Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord hath sought him a man after his own heart," and talking about David. "And the Lord hath commanded him to be captain over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord commanded thee." So it's interesting, this dynamic between Israel and the Philistines, because we start to encounter them earlier in the book of Judges. There's 5 like main Philistine cities that are mentioned: Ashkelon, Ekron, Gath. I can't remember the other 2, but they're all right in the region where we would call modern day Gaza, and these cities still exist, by the way, in modern day Palestine, which comes from the name Philistine. But these people are really interesting, their development, because while they start to show up in Judges they appear earlier, but in a like the main narrative sense, we start to really encounter them in the book of Judges. In history, like in archaeology and stuff, they didn't just all of a sudden pop into existence. There's been a lot of research into like where did the Philistines come from, and what's their lineage, and all this stuff. There's been like DNA studies, because archaeologists have dug up bones from this area of these ancient Philistine people and have been able to do genetic testing to figure out where they come from. Not only that, but there's archaeological records of the Philistines as well, especially in Egypt. So rewinding a little bit, so in the book of Judges, we're introduced to these 5 Philistine cities. Shortly before that, in this chronology of Bible timelines, there's a Pharaoh Ramses III, and as pharaohs were known to do, they would build these huge structures for themselves so that when they died, they could be buried there. And in the mortuary temple of Ramses III, there's all these inscriptions on the walls, and on one of the walls, there's an inscription of a group of Philistines coming and attacking Egypt along their northern border, and it talks about how Ramses III fought this. A chronicle like the conquests and achievements of Ramses III during his life. He fought off the Philistines and forced them to settle elsewhere. Well, if you know the little bit of geography, the northern border of Egypt is the Mediterranean Sea. It's the Nile River Delta. Throughout Scripture and even throughout history, the Philistines are referred to as sea people. So where did these people come from? And what we find is that they came from the region of the Aegean Sea over by Greece, like the island of Crete and things like that. And so these Philistines are like ancient Aegean people who came down and tried to force their way into Egypt, were fought off by Ramses III, and like bounced off the northern coast of Egypt and landed in the eastern Mediterranean. which is in modern day Palestine, and there they set up, what we know of from Scripture, from Judges, from 1 Samuel 13, as the Philistines we know of from Scripture, in Gaza, these cities, and so this is part of Canaan, and God had instructed Israel that there are nations in Canaan that are supposed to be totally eradicated because of how evil they are and how dangerous they are to the rest of humanity if left unchecked. And the Philistines was one of them. And yet, throughout Judges, after all the conquests in the book of Joshua, the book of Judges, they're supposed to continue that job, and they didn't. They left a lot of these people groups in place that ended up becoming not just their enemies by virtue of the fact that they're all trying to occupy the same land, but it gave all these other pagan nations the opportunity to grow and regroup and attack Israel. And that's basically the history of the book of Judges, is all of these nations, they kept conquering Israel, enslaving them for several years. They would cry out to God. God would provide for their deliverance, and then they would have peace for a certain number of years. But then they would start to engage in the pagan practices of the nations around them. So God gave them over to bondage in these other nations. And the Philistines was one of them. Samson encountered them. Saul encountered them. David encountered them. And while David did the most to fight them back and like destroy them as like a military power in the area, they were never totally eradicated. Throughout the entire history of Israel, the Philistines were never totally eradicated. Even after that great battle between David and the Philistine Goliath, where basically Goliath and the other lords of the Philistines, well, Goliath didn't, he was dead, but the other ones like ran away, and because they had been conquered. Like Israel didn't pursue them and finish the job, and so throughout their history, the Philistines kept attacking them, kept being a thorn in their side, kept restraining them from being to rising to the strength that they could, partly because of reasons we see in 13, like they didn't allow any smiths in Israel, that kind of thing, because they didn't want them to be making a lot of weapons. They wanted to be the weapons makers, things like that, throughout Scripture. But where we find the end of the Philistines actually outlasted the nation of Israel. The northern kingdom of Israel got conquered by the Assyrians, the southern kingdom by the Babylonians. It was the Neo-Babylonians several hundreds of years later that ended up totally destroying and eradicating the Philistines from existence, so that we don't have them. So while the Philistines themselves were gone, the concept of Philistia or Palestine or whatever lasted for up until this day, because centuries later, when the Roman Empire conquered Israel and Judea in the New Testament ended up becoming like a province of the Roman Empire, in order to like reinforce Roman authority over these Judean people, over the Jews, they renamed that area after the Philistines. Palestine, and that name exists to this day. It's a callback to these old Philistines. Judges, they didn't eradicate them. Saul didn't eradicate them. David didn't fully eradicate them. Neither did Solomon. It was only the Neo-Babylonians. So, like, if I'm the Roman Empire and I want to assert my dominance over this people group, I'm going to rename their territory after an enemy that they never fully conquered. And it was an insult to them.
Is there evidence that the Philistines were actually really, really big people?
Yes and no. So from what I understand, we haven't uncovered like the smoking gun, or at least it hasn't been documented that we've uncovered the smoking gun of like a really, really giant skeleton.
Okay.
There's like stories of it where people say, "Oh yeah, we saw them" and all this stuff. But to my knowledge, the actual bones have never been produced.
Okay.
However, there's so not all the Philistines were characterized as giants.
Okay.
It just happened to be like giants were part of the like Goliath was talked about as a giant. Now, in some of these cities, like I think ancient Gath, when they uncovered the city gates, like the steps to the city gates were these really huge steps, and the gate was a really huge gate.
Right.
And so some people have inferred from findings like that that the Philistines incorporated large people. But if we're talking about like that Genesis 6 version of the giants and the Nephilim and all that kind of stuff, those are for the most part eradicated as time went on. And there were like a few remaining here and there, like Goliath, but not as an entire people group.
Okay, gotcha. Maybe Bigfoot has something to do with them.
Could be, yeah.
Maybe Bigfoot's.
Don't talk about my
Sorry. I know you're sensitive about your cousins. All right. Well, that's it's going to be a challenge to name this episode.
Yeah, it is.
Who knows? But anyway, we'll do it. Chris, anything else you want to talk about? You talk about bumpers in your trees or your neighbors backing down the road at 30 miles an hour and crashing
more
into
like
your...
60.
I didn't know a car could go 60 miles an hour in the back. What happened, real quick? Let's close with your Tuesday adventure.
Well, my wife has got back from lunch, sitting there. All of a sudden, she screams and she's hollering about something. I hear a loud noise outside, and the Blue Angels, of course, you live on that side.
Oh man,
they fly right over my house, and they had
here.
just been practicing. So I'm like hearing this weird noise. It's like, well, practice is kind of over. It should be. Next thing you know, she's screaming about a car going down the thing. Guy, next door neighbor, come out of his driveway, took his fence out, took the neighbor across the street's fence out, came back across, hit the telephone pole. There's two in front of my property. Hit the second one, snapped it off, and we had power for like 4 hours. Apparently, he wasn't supposed to be driving, and he was trying to get away. Somebody pulled up, tried to help him. They had to take the keys away from him. Have no idea whether he was having some kind of medical. He wasn't drunk or something like that. He was having some kind of medical reaction. But they had just bought this car like 2 weeks ago.
Oh no!
And now, it's still hanging in the tree. There's a big old piece of bumper. I might put that picture on here. It's hanging in the tree. So we're sitting there and just going,
What else?
only in Pensacola. And my new moniker is going to be RZP. It's how I express my life. If something's going bad, it's RZP. Radioactive zombie penguins.
Okay.
That's exactly what every time I turn around. So I don't know. That's where I was.
I'm glad it wasn't worse. I'm glad it didn't hit your
Nobody
house.
got hurt.
Yeah.
It was nobody hurt. He was banged up, but it's like he completely destroyed the neighbor's fence. He took out like two huge, like 35, 40-foot sections because he just went through it and drug it and went through it and drug it.
Gracious.
And mine, what stopped him was the telephone pole. But he broke a telephone pole in 3 places.
He had to be going. Was the bumper? Did somebody just throw it up there to get it out of the way, or is that where it ended?
No, that's where it ended up. It was in there. That's where it ended up. That's what
Man.
we were all sitting there going. Actually, when the tow truck went to pull it out, he actually had to take the bed and actually kind of get under the front of the car and pop the car up because he actually kind of stuck it on top of the broken telephone pole.
See. Okay.
It was
Wedged
really
it in there.
weird.
Wow, that is weird. Middle of the day.
Yeah, like 11. It was like 11, just a couple minutes after 11.
Well, I hope and prayer for you this week is that nothing weird happens.
I've had enough already in the first 2 days.
Yeah. We hope that nothing else weird happens this week. So, Josh, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Chris. And Donna, I love you. And we'll talk to everybody next week. Thanks. Bye.